Alright, welcome back, and it's time for you guys to roll initiative on this video. Today we are talking about the Dragon Hatchery, as you can tell from the map. And you might be asking yourself, why are you on the Twitch set? It's not really a set, it's just I'm at my computer. I decided to do two videos this way. I'm uploading currently right now the top 10 Tasha things that I'm looking forward to, and I didn't want to go downstairs with the green screen and deal with all that stuff because I did not get any comments about the green screen in the last video. If you guys like it or not, I don't care. I mean, I could bust out the old set back there, but hey, this is all I can do until I can fully renovate that basement, which we're still waiting on. And I also want to promote the Twitch channel. We've been painting minis so far every other Saturday has been our goal. That's what we're kind of leaning into. So we did that one. We just did the Tasha video and I brought it over to the channel. It's like that 2-hour video of me discussing stuff that was in the document. So we're gonna go ahead, get through the stupid ad, and get directly into the Tales from the Basement. Catch her up. We did the Halloween holiday kind of thing because Seth, who was our cleric, was away for the game, so we kind of paused the game real quick so we can bring him back because we only really had one returning character to play with. I don't really consider myself one of them, just main of it's like 3 of us in the beginning, and having at least the one main important guy out wouldn't feel fair. Dave unfortunately couldn't make it this time, but he's kind of fine with it. He shows up if he doesn't. He rarely ever never shows up is what I'm trying to say. He's always been there. But Seth, I didn't want him to like miss out on it. I'm like, hey, he's kind of our go-to guy because he's our healer, even though he doesn't really want to be our healer. I mean, he's pretty much like our tank healer, I go to say. We also didn't get the other 2 people from the last game in. They didn't show up to the Halloween game, and they are not able to make this one. So we actually got Mike, aka Liam, back. We gave him Liam because we have to name because we have 3 mics at our store. So store mic is Mike, Will is our DM, and then Liam is our Drogar player from the Murder House Halloween game that we had. He came back as a lower level version of that character, and we'll get to the whole story of what his character is doing in this campaign. Jeremy actually switched his character to the Tabaxi Bard. He retired the Witcher, which is great. Let's see. I actually DM'd this one. So this is going to be kind of an interesting story because I did not get to play. I got to play as the DM. However, Will got to play basically my brother, my half brother, because we're both half elves. He was playing Erwin, and of course, if you don't remember from the last story, which I'll post an annotation somewhere on screen, you can go back and watch the Tales from the Basement story of this, as I've been documenting this as a vlog series, not as an animation because I don't have the time to animate, nor do I have the skill. And I do have the recording files of them, but I can't just post them online because I know no one's gonna listen to 4 hours of random dudes playing D&D. They can't even listen to Twitter or Critical Role's games most of the time, and there's like 100 of them. I digress. Moving on. This game I actually got to run, and I previously had played this in the Cleveland game as Dimitri. That's why you always get to see Dimitri, which by the way reminds me, there is a goblin in the bottom right corner, which takes you directly to my channel. Like, comment, and subscribe there, and also the link to the Twitch is also there if it's not in the bottom in the description. I digress. Any which way. So I'm DMing. They go back for the 3 days. They rescue the prisoners and Linus. It's Leosin, but we call him Linus. Or wow, I'm actually forgetting his name. That's Leonidas. There we go. That's because that's what we named him. And a couple of the side names like Lady Beth and espresso. I actually forgot when I was trying to take my notes for it. Because right now, I think Seth is the only one that's been really taking notes, and I've been just recording and just following along. Because even transcribing them into notes, I kind of took a break from doing that, just because there's so much stuff going on. So they get back to town, and I tell them, hey, this is like the 3 days of downtime that you're doing that will bring your character from a 2 to a 3. And in the spare time that's going on, here's what's going on. Leonidas is knocked out cold. He's very weak and he can't fully function, so he needs to rest for about 3 days. Espresso is currently busy trying to refortify the city, make sure it's a A-OK state, so he's currently busy as well, giving the characters ample time to go shopping if they need to, or assist in downtime, which Seth and wow, it's for escaping my mind. There's someone else. I think it's just Seth and Erwin were doing it. And what was going on was Erwin and Kane, which is Liam, they were coming into town. Erwin had gotten letters from Duke about stuff that was going on. And he had heard about Green Nest, and he figured he'd do business in Green Nest. Only to discover that the notes that Duke had sent, it was like in between them going to the camps first and all that, was an absolute understatement. Like the town was still a mess from the raids from before. So he shows up, he finds out that his brother's not there, and he wants to search for his brother. However, with I want to say the dozens of people that are sick and ill and who were prisoners, they don't have the time to really go out at the moment to do it. They need to take care of the people first. And Lady Beth, Yenorn, which is Seth, and Erwin start trying to take care of as many people as they can. The bard was actually Jeremy's bard was named Skibbles. Just go with it. He was a part of the prisoners. He escaped, came back, got healed up, and then proceeded to join the party because he wants to fight the good fight. So they end up waiting until I think the third day. Leonidas wakes up super injured and all that, needs to talk to Espresso about what's going on. Everything that he did reconnaissance on, plus the reconnaissance of the party, they've come to find out that there is a dragon hatchery in the cave. Because if you're reading these books, you have to come up with a reason why to go back. Especially for this one, you have to have a reason to come back. I don't know why. You could easily just do the camp, then wait outside, and then next part just go right to it. I don't know why they did it like that. Heck, my one game of this with Dimitri, we just cut the whole camp out. And in which, actually, we went into the hatchery twice. One as the camp, and then second time as, the actual hatchery. So let's hop on over here. They start over here. They come to the camp, which, if you guys don't remember, of course you don't, the camp caught fire, and there was pandemonium because the ranger released guard drakes among the cultists. They were all panicking. I'm pretty proud that we got through that encounter pretty well. And then, of course, I got trapped there. So when they go up to the camp, it's pretty much covered. Let's see, it's covered. It's pretty much gone. The main tent that Duke and the he always has a weird name. It's like Duke. I think it was Crit. It's like some long weird name. Crit, which was our halfling barbarian. We were looking at the tent. That's where Resmir and Lang were. So the tent was gone. Most of the tents were burnt. And you could see smoldering fire from it. And there was just, especially one person investigated, had found like a lot of footprints recently fresh, just running out of camp. And I informed Liam that, hey, what had happened was all this had happened and occurred. That's why these watchtowers weren't really touched. Because the hunter, Jeremy, had put up the fog barrier to give them kind of an advantage on fleeing the camp. giving them at least a chance to get out and away, because you got to go up and out of a valley and then into a forest. They park their cart, they buy a cart, and they park it outside of the forest area, and they were kind of thinking of the idea, because 3 kobolds were loading up a wagon with dragon eggs, and Rezmir was there, but they don't get to see Rezmir, and Rezmir is actually not supposed to be here, quote unquote. So by the time all this stuff's going on, especially later on in like the final fight, Rezmir's gone with that cart of 3 eggs. But they don't know that yet, because we didn't get to finish this in time. So, any which way, they go up to the guards, and they're in their dragon cultist clothes. They managed to get a couple more clothes from the Green Nest people, just cleaning up dead bodies and all that. They had enough time to prep them and get them to look like they're decently worn, not like blood splatters and all over it, so they were able to articulously prep themselves to go into this dungeon. So I gave them that as an option, and they played it pretty well. They were able to get past the guards in part 1, because if the guards got alerted, they would have gone to 2, and then there would have been a fight. So they've gone from 2 to 3, and that's where it got kind of interesting, as they went in there and they noticed the bats dropping from the ceiling, and they saw stingers with the Drogar. He was hoping it was like cloakers, he was thinking, but it turned out to just be the stingers. And I'm like sitting there going, how many do I throw? Oh, there's 10 of them. Oh, I should probably throw all 10 at them. And I kind of balanced it out, because I knew like throwing all 10 of them wouldn't be a smart idea. And then I looked at their HP and I'm like, oh, 2 HP. Okay, I could just keep throwing them at them and having the party panic. So they were freaking out a bit over it. Didn't do much. I don't think it did much damage to them. I didn't do the blood-sucking ability where they just latch onto them like leeches. But, yeah, they were getting dinged up a bit. They managed to, of course, with our bard, it's the same thing again. The Tabaxi was from the murder game. That's where Jeremy made him, and that's where he wants to play. He did shatter again, killing all of them instantly. Thank God, because I didn't want to sit there, because it was kind of stupid. Just keep rolling and having to do dive bombs. You could technically shoot them with a range attack. They didn't have that much of an armor class, but I digress. So they go into area 4, and if I recall, no, 3. Okay, 3 had the fungi, 4 had the stinger bats. Okay, so 3, they were able to spot the one trap, because they were fallen kobolds that were allegedly the ones that were loading up the eggs. That's all they could figure out. But then later on they find out they were done doing their job. They were kind of just going back to their area to relax, which was kind of weird, because there's let me bring it up real quick on the map. 6 here. They didn't go near, but it's the meat locker. That was kind of a weird place. If they were able to get there in time, they would have me kind of hiding out here, but they never did. They kept going. Basically what they did was they went 1, 2, 3, 4, messed around in 7 for a little bit, went up into 8, and then came down through the tunnel, and they stopped at 9. And they're supposed to make their way over here and then basically leave. They don't have to go to these rooms. If they make it into this room, we agreed to add the deck of many things into 13. So you guys see the path now. I'm not going to cut back to it as much as you would think, but any which way, we're going to go right into it. They go through the fungi. There's only one real human in the group, so he doesn't have a torch at the moment. In 4, Erwin gets the torch, and it makes it a little bit easier for him to see from that point further. But so far from 1, 2, and 3, he really can't see, so he's kind of like holding on to Yenorn, aka Seth's character, and just kind of guiding his way through. Everyone else has like dark vision and is able to see, so while they're going through like kind of the ledge area where the fungi is, because that's kind of where it says is there's like this violet fungi that is very dangerous. It just for some reason Like if you miss the first step, you fall right into this area. So what I did was, it's kind of a weird path where if you don't follow this rickety bridge right, if you step on the false step and you fall in, because that's where the cobalt had it, you would slide down and get attacked by this fungi plant, or multiple fungi plants that are down there. However, if you go up the stairs and you fall along the wall, basically, I was saying, if they were following along here, they would come out right about here, because this is a tunnel underneath the ground. So what I was saying was they're following a bridge, and all in there was like fungi, and they could see blue and green because green was directly underneath the staircase bridge that they were on that was rickety. They could notice that one easily, but trying to see further out, they can only make out so much of the fungi because the fungi wasn't up close and personal. So they go to 4, they fight the stingers there. I had Irwin roll for investigation with advantage because everything he had advantage on was 3 traps that were purposely placed by Duke, and one thing that kind of gave him a feeling that Duke was there, and it was when investigating the bats, he had found punctural wounds on the side of the bat, because basically the stingers were ripping off the heads of the bats and then sucking out the organs and blood, using them like a Capri Sun, squishing them up, throwing them down, and then just keep going at it while they're feeding. Mind you, this is at night, and I just left the encounter like that. It says in the book that if it's day, the bats aren't really there. Night, or one of them, like the bats aren't really there. I think day they're there, but night they're not. Any which way, he investigates it, sees that there's a weird puncture wound, looking like the venom organ that's in this bat has been removed, so it gives them like a +4 poison damage. Like, I was going to say 1d4, but I think I just gave him 4 because at that point, just add a 4 on. Because somebody was using darts, our one was using darts, and he wasn't doing that much damage with it. So I buffed it up a bit. And then Skittles had some crossbow bolts. I just added another 4 to it. It didn't do much later on because I was doing a lot of damage and just missing constantly. As usual, I always miss. I even, like, as an NPC, was boosting up my team just so we didn't die. But they go to the left, and they go to the guard Drake training area, and we spend about, like, I think 20-30 minutes in there, and basically what it boils down to is, I'm going to go back to the map, I don't want to say I left, Erwin and Yenor stood at the door, and they waited, and they were watching down the hallway to see if anyone was popping out, or they had saw 2 kobolds go up here up into the 8, and then Kane and Skittles went down and were talking to 2 kobolds that were standing here. They were able to persuade them to understand what they were doing with training drakes. Skittles actually managed to tame a drake and fed him by shredding a kobold into the cage, and I told him basically he made him stick his arm in, try to teach him how to tame him, and he had him use command because he was already, the Drake was already listening to him, and he basically broke his arm off and then dragged his body through the gate and just shredded him, while the other kobold and the Drogar were watching. Cobalt panicked and basically, I want to say Kane grappled him, and then Skittles went over, got a lasso, put it around his neck, and then fed him to the other one. So they had like one docile Drake, but they had one fully trained, so they have a Drake for their party. And then the third one, no matter what they were going to do, it was going to rip them to shreds if they did anything. They managed to get the keys on, unlock the one that they fully docile, so now they have something that's listening to them. But they can't, I told them, you can't take this thing around the the cave, which brings up a really good home rule that I'm using now. Is called Suspicion, aka it's the full Metal Gear Solid like dun 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 dun. Hey, what? That kind of a thing where they kind of like notice you. So what was going on was while they were in disguise, they had zero suspicion whatsoever. And anytime they were doing something that could be condoned as suspicious, they would get 1 point of suspicion. If they got 4 points of suspicion, dun 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 dun, what? Dun 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 dun, like, oh god, what? No, oh, there's something bad. Like, they'd start freaking out. 5, and immediately they become targets. Instantly, just encounter happens. They don't know that there's a 5th. They only know that there was a 4. Because I knew they couldn't get to 4. But I told them here, if they wanted that guard drake to follow them, they would instantly lock at a 3. Because it'd be super suspicious that a guard drake would be following 2 cultists around in a cave. Not in the cage. Just randomly walking around. It'd be too suspicious not to have it following the party. So they're like, okay, well, we'll just leave it here and we'll come back for it. I'm like, noted, okay. So they go up to the Cobalt Barracks, which is basically, they managed to basically quietly sneak their way around it. There was 2 Cobalts just playing cards that noticed the Cobalt, or the cultist guys coming in, which were basically the party, and they were playing it cool. And then 3 winged Cobalts were asleep. One regular Cobalt was asleep as well, so there was a bunch of them in the room. They were just like, yeah, I'm just gonna keep walking. And then when we come down to the stairs right here, they had the collapse trap. Again, these steps right here that lead to the tunnel. So this whole area was just filled with traps, and I had it set so if they rolled a d10, the whole party had to roll a d10, and if they landed on a 4 or an 8 on the roll, they were triggering the trap, which would basically drop boulders onto the party, and they'd have to take 4d4 bludgeoning damage. That's what the book says. So what ended up happening was, before they went down, Erwin got the advantage to find the trap, because it had to give him 3 traps for Duke, so it'd be easier for the party to not just randomly, especially the stupid ones. There's another stupid trap that I didn't get to yet, but I couldn't work around it to make it easier for them to pass. So basically all they did was I gave Will the advantage to notice a trap that I could have possibly created as a human being. Sorry, half elf. So what ended up happening was basically there was a hairline string trap kind of a thing where it's like you trip the wire, boom, it drops the fake ceiling, because Erwin looks up and notices that the ceiling is a little bit lower than it should be, and there's just like boulders just sitting up above their head that can be moved at any moment. There's like weak pieces of the wood just chilling up there. So they managed to bypass that and get down to 9, and while they're at 9, they come to a shrine of Tiamat. They have not noticed it, because what happens was there's 2 mercenaries. I know it says berserker in the book, but I made it 2 mercenaries because I figured the berserkers don't really do anything unless they're provoked, but the mercenaries could kind of step in and change up the rules a bit, in which what happened was, instead of it being a 3-player gangbang on they called her Blue as an insult, but it was Lang, because there's Lang and Resmir, and Lang I swapped Resmir and her out because there was more of a connection between Seth's character Yenor getting his ass kicked in chapter 1, so I figured it'd be annoying, and it played off perfectly well. I was like, oh shit, this bitch, I don't want to deal with her, no. And he loved it. He definitely thought it was hilarious to just see her again, and she's already toe and toe with him. But I switched weapons. I still gave her the necrotic evil sword. She took a lot out of Cain, and Cain was so fed up that he became enlarged and grappled me. Being a level 3 character with that spell, pretty nice. I'm not complaining because he's not using it to break anything. He's just using it to slow creatures down. He's done it before in the Murder House game. I think towards the end he got enlarged and tried it, or he did enlarge in another dangerous room, and I can't remember. This has been like a few weeks. So he pinned me to the floor as Lang. I had the two mercenaries pull the monk back to put him in like kind of a sandwich, so they both had advantage against him. And then I had to bring Duke in, so the moment he comes in, I threw a bottle of Foster's at the it was an elf and a dragonborn fighting the party, and the dragonborn, no, the elf takes a bottle of Foster's to the face and smashes, and it bothers her for a second, and Erwin turns around and goes, "Oh, what's up, brother?" And then everyone else is like, "Yeah!" So basically, if Erwin needed something, like, he'd just tell me to cast something. I think at most I did was like Burning Hands twice. No one really needed healing. So they still had potions and healer's kits, so nothing bad was going to happen. However, I was dealing a lot of damage with the sword. Like, I got Kane down to almost half health. Yenor, because I'm trying to remember the characters' names. Yenor kept getting hit until he brought up his AC. He did Shield of Faith, and then I think I did Mage Armor to Erwin to protect him as well. What was it? Skittles wasn't really in the battle as much. He was doing ranged attacks and bard spells, but they weren't really having an effect. Like, the one thing when he was doing Dissonant Whispers was supposed to at least give me damage, but then trying to get me to run away wouldn't work. He did manage to use Dissonant Whispers on the Dragonborn, get the Dragonborn to go up the stairs, and take 4d4 bludgeoning damage to the face, on top of his Dissonant Whisper damage, because he basically forced me into a trap. That reminds me, in what was it? In the section between 4 and 7, there was a makeshift spike trap on some plank wood, or plywood. Erwin had spotted, so they didn't step onto a spike of poison, and they noticed that the poison was kind of dry, because again, I kept hinting to, it's been about 3 days since it's been there, so I've had 3 days to prep each encounter. So that's basically how it was, and that's how that one trap went, because there was a trap in between there, especially on the map. I think you can somewhat see it, but I can't tell. So the remaining part of the battle has been just basically everybody taking pot shots at Lang, and I'm just doing pot shots back. But the main thing that was going on for quite some time, because the last I want to say last 15 minutes or so, we were trying to rush through it as fast as we could, and we couldn't do it. We're resetting it back a bit just so we can actually give it a satisfied conclusion, since it's the main boss that everybody knows. Which I had used a legendary action, and it made Seth so mad, because Erwin was trying to trip Lang, forgetting her name a bit, but failed because I did a legendary action, so it basically made my leg wiggle, and they're just like, ha 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 ha. And they're like, oh, you have a legendary action. I'm like, yep, once per day. And they're like, oh, and then when a cane got enlarged and grappled me to the floor, prone me to the floor, Will was like, so, you wasted that legendary action on me? I'm like, I figured I would either go toe-and-toe with him or toe-and-toe with Seth. What ended up happening was going toe-and-toe with the big giant Drogar. And I ended up, because they didn't block my mouth or anything, and they're like, yeah, I think you could probably, with your fingers, cast a spell. I cast Darkness. I wasted a whole turn, cast Darkness around me, and everybody in the sphere couldn't see anything. Except for Duke was out, Skittles was out, and I think that was about it. And then the cleric steps out and realizes, okay, yeah, it's just a shadowy ball of darkness. So he stepped out, so he couldn't see, none of them could see in, and the mercenaries couldn't see either. And the only thing that was known was the Drogar had his hand on hand on Lang and could feel where Lang was, and Lang could do anything else. However, I don't want to say concentration was going on. It was just the effect was going on. No, the spell did not need concentration because it was basically from a magic item. I'm losing it. I had an advantage to do a spell while that was going on because it wasn't me concentrating on the spell. However, he had to concentrate to keep his enlarge going, and I was able to knock his concentration off and get him to shrink down, but he still had me grappled, which was kind of weird because I thought for like the longest time he was basically putting his hand on my chest and going, "You're grappled," and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And during darkness, I had the ability to see, because that's how the character blind sight or something, so I could basically keep an eye. My goal was if I could actually get out of that grapple in the darkness, I would probably just stealth kill one of the players, drop it, and continue attacking. But what ended up happening was towards the end, I dropped it and just kept shooting lightning the whole time because my weapon already dropped out of my hand. I would grapple, dropped it, so I wasn't able to do that much damage. But with my lightning, I could. So that's basically where we left off. I know I'm doing a 30-minute video as usual, me rambling, but again, roll initiative for the next encounter. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Also, I'm not streaming on YouTube because YouTube keeps shadow banning stuff. So I'm not liking the fact that especially for Tasha, I streamed it and nobody showed up, and it didn't even hit the notify box or the subscription box, so hit the bell. Maybe further down the road we'll do YouTube streams, but as of now, it's on Twitch. So that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next video.